Hey guys, Angel down here at Indian Motorcycle of San Diego. Today we wanted to share a very special video that we've been trying to work on for quite some time. A full, comprehensive walk-around video of all of the new Scout models. It has been quite some time since we've had the luxury of having a full representation of the Indian Scout model lineup, but today we're going to share a little bit of information on all of the different 8 variations of Scout. Since Indian launched the Scout in 2015, it has been by far one of the most popular bikes on-road models that Indian has released since coming onto the market in 2014. Now they have about 8 different variations and 2 different engines. We're going to spend some time breaking down the features and benefits of each model and help you pick which one's perfect for the riding style you want to accomplish. First things first, let's start by breaking down the difference between the different engines. Now, in the Scout lineup, you're going to have a full-size Scout motor and a Scout 60 motor. I have that represented in Scout 60, Bobber 60, and then a Rogue 60, which is the only one we don't have here in our lineup. However, it's going to look almost identical to a Rogue. The only difference you're going to have is a little bit less badging, and it's not going to have the USB charger. Other than that, you're going to have a hard time telling them apart. On all the other full-size Scouts and Scout 60s, there's a couple of characteristics to look for that are going to help you distinguish the difference between the two. On a full-size Scout, you're always going to have these beautiful chrome headers, whereas on a 60, you're going to have a full black engine. The other main kind of call out is you're going to have a few less kind of trim pieces on it. So you're not going to have the USB charger on the Scout 60, and you're not going to have some of these fancier wire covers on the Scout 60. You're only going to have those on the full-size Scouts. Your other big call out is the badging. The badging on the Scout 60s is always just going to be Indian. It is not going to say Indian Scout. Whereas when you're looking at a full-size Scout, it should always say Indian Scout, and the same goes for the Bobber. You'll have Indian Scout versus just Indian. Now, from there, as you can see, there's quite a variation of different bikes to go through. The main one is the Flagship Classic. Then we move on to the Bobber lineup, and then last but not least, we'll have the Rogue. Let's dig into these a little bit deeper. All right, now we're gonna go and start with the Scout Classic. Indian doesn't call it the Scout Classic, but I do because it 100% is a classic. This is basically the same Scout that they released in 2015. Both of these are 2021 or 2022 models. However, they do still feature that iconic larger front fender, the iconic larger rear fender, and the most kind of immediate thing you're going to see right out the gate on the Scout Classic are the handlebars. All of the other Scout models are either going to have a drag bar or an ape hanger. So the Classic Scout is truly set up for comfort. So you're going to have that really sweeped back handlebar on both the 60 and the full-size Scout, and you'll have more of a forward control right from the factory. Now, this bike features some cool things that make a Scout so special, where you can do a floorboard, you can do some larger saddlebags that you're not going to be able to fit on a Bobber because of the fender size, and you also have some better variations of solo rack, passenger seat, sissy bars. So if you actually want to have a nice passenger backrest, the Bobber doesn't really have a lot of options. You're gonna have to do a little low profile one, whereas the Classic Scout has more options for your passenger. So if you know I'm gonna be going distance, you know you're gonna have a passenger, and you know you're gonna need that storage, then a Classic Scout is gonna be a better fit for you. Now, the beauty of all of the Scouts is they have the 2 different displacements. So Classic Scout, 6-speed transmission, USB charger, added chrome badging, 100 horsepower, some added cool little icons you'll see throughout the Indian, where you'll see these little eyes throughout the bike. You get a little bit more of that on the full-size Scout. And then we move to the 60, which just has an all-black 16-inch wheel. Again, those nice, sweeping, comfortable handlebars, and that little bit more of a forward control to be more comfortable out on the road. Me personally, I feel like the Scout Classic is a little underrated because it isn't quite as popular and booming as the Scout Bobber. But please do not disregard this bike as an amazing option for a first-time rider or a veteran rider that maybe just wants to get something a little easier to maneuver, more comfortable riding around town, and maybe they are ready to downgrade out of a larger bike and into a smaller bike. Hopefully that answers some questions for you, and now we'll move on to the Bobber. And now we have the Bobber lineup. If you want to be an Instagram influencer, definitely get a Bobber. We go ahead and start with the probably a little bit lesser known Bobber 20. So the cool thing about the Bobber 20 is it is in fact an Indian Scout Bobber. However, it's going to come standard with 16-inch spoke wheels, still going to have that fatty tire, just like you're going to have on all of the Bobber models. And instead of the drag bar that comes on the Bobber and the Bobber 60, you're going to get these little mini ape hangers. And you also get kind of an exclusive special paint job by going with the Bobber 20s. They're the only Scouts that have this big, beautiful headdress on the side of the tank. So the Bobber 20 truly is something special and a little bit different than all of the other Bobbers. In my opinion, it's the closest to a true Bobber because of the ape hangers and the spoke wheels. Now, some other cool things that are just standard on all of the Bobbers is, of course, you're going to have these little shorty front bobbed fenders, little shorty bobbed rear fenders, LED rear turn signals, side-mounted license plate bracket, and something that's been extremely popular in this model is this blacked out, closed out headlight nacelle. It really gives it that like big dark horse look that you see on some of the larger cruisers and makes this Bobber just look aggressive compared to the classic Scout or even some of the other Chief models. It really makes it stand apart. Also, another thing that's really iconic on the Bobber are the bar end mirrors. So all of the full-size Scout Bobbers are going to come with bar end mirrors, same with the 20. Keep in mind, your full-size Scout Bobbers are going to have these chrome headers, additional badges, and USB charger. Now on the Bobber 60, you have a lot of the same iconic parts, but it's a little bit more trimmed down. It's also a little bit more entry-level friendly, which was the whole point of the Bobber 60. So you're still going to have those cool bobbed fenders, you're still going to have the LED turn signals and the side mount license plate, but instead of the bar end mirrors, you're going to have traditional mirrors that are a little bit easier to see out of. You're also not going to have that big nacelle. It's important to notice that on the 60, you're going to have more of that traditional classic headlight. You're not going to have that big round nacelle like you get on the Bobber or the Bobber 20. You can add it, but keep in mind that's a fairly expensive accessory. Now, what I would better recommend is going with more of a windshield or the quarter fairing that you'll see standard on the Rogue. The Rogue comes with the quarter fairing, however, that quarter fairing can mount on any Scout, period. So, if you absolutely love a full-size Scout Bobber and want to get a quarter fairing, you can do that without having to go to a full Rogue. The other thing to kind of notice on the Scout Bobber 60 is you're going to see some different tires. Again, they set it up to be more entry-level friendly. So you have the Scout Bobber 60 running Pirelli Night Dragons, whereas the full-size Scout and the Bobber 20 are going to have these really knobby, kind of aggressive tread patterns on them. So keep those things in mind when you're shopping between the different Bobbers. Hope that answers some of your questions between the 20, the Bobber, and the Bobber 60. Now we'll move on to the last, but definitely not least. Here we are, the all-new Scout Rogue. This is actually the only one of all of my bikes today that isn't available. This is actually a really good customer of ours, and it was the very first Scout Rogue we have sold and the very first Scout Rogue in Southern California. So Thank you. We appreciate you letting us use your bike as a beautiful model. These are all on pre-order, and we only ask for a $100 deposit on all of our pre-orders. So if you'd like to get a beautiful new Rogue coming, please give me a call, text, or email. Now, let's get into the features of the Rogue. First things first, it is the only Scout running a 19-inch wheel. This is awesome. So far, this wheel has only been ran on the larger heavyweight models like the Chieftain and the Springfield. So to have a 19-inch wheel on the Scout is a game changer. It makes it ride completely differently than the Classic or the Bobber, because you now have a completely different profile and stance of the motorcycle. Cool fact, forks, same dimensions, same diameter. So if you have a Scout at home and are an existing Scout owner and you need this wheel, we can make that happen. So keep that in mind and in your back pocket. Same front fender and rear fender as the Bobbers. For the Rogue's particular styling, they're always gonna be black. So you can't ever get like an all blue Rogue or an all red Rogue. Only the tanks are going to be different colors. So if you're a really big color pop person, you may have a better time getting a color matched quarter fairing on a Bobber and maybe upgrading your wheel. So there's a couple different ways you can mix and match accessories to get exactly what you want. For this example, we're just gonna run with the factory black front fender, black quick release, quarter fairing, which yes, it is quick release. So this little thing pops right off, super easy. So you don't have to run it at all times. And just what it looks like up underneath is exactly like the front of the Scout Bobber 60. Just that bare naked headlight, which is kind of cool. You do run the Metzeler Cruise Techs on the Rogue. So again, you're gonna have a far more nimble, far more aggressive riding style on the Rogue versus the Bobber or the Classic. You also, which is a great thing for people like me that love ape hangers, have those mini ape hangers from the factory with the bar ends. But instead of the forward controls of the Classic, you almost have this little bit of a reduced reach, like on the Bobber. So for those of us that are a little bit vertically challenged, you're still gonna fit really comfortably on the Rogue, the Bobber, or the Classic. It's actually one of the coolest parts of the Scout is you can get extended reach seats that scoot you back or reduced reach seats that scoot you forward, and same with all the different bar variations. You can make a Scout fit anyone from like 5'3" all the way up to 6'2" to 6'3", depending on their overall size. Last but not least, my favorite part of the Rogue is probably this new seat they came out with. It is a Syndicate Solo seat, so it just drops you down a little bit deeper into the saddle and really kind of cups your lumbar and your sacrum. So you're not getting that slipperiness or that hardness that happens on the traditional Bobber seat. You can really get caught by this seat and held in place by it. So that's pretty nice, especially if you're used to really grabbing a fistful of throttle. That's gonna make a big difference for you. And the cool part is this seat is totally interchangeable with any of the other Bobbers. So all of the Bobber accessories will fit across the Rogue, the 60, and the 20. So smoked blacked out turn signals, LED headlights, quarter fairings, different wheels. You can now legitimately customize the Scout exactly the way you want it to be. So I hope that answers all of your questions on the all-new Rogue, and we cannot wait to see more of them here. Hopefully you put one on order with us so we can see your future Scout. I hope this was very enjoyable and knowledgeable for you guys. Again, as always, if you have any questions on different accessory fitments, certain color availabilities, and what it would take to get one on order for you, please give us a call here at Indian of San Diego, 858-277-0422. Shoot us an email, angel@indianofsd.com, or hop onto our website, indianofsd.com, and shoot us a text message. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day, and rubber side down.